Hi, my name is Christopher Drost and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about something that I really think is misunderstood in literature, and that's the theme of your story. This is a video about basics, so I'm going to start off with some definitions. First up is the theme of the story. The theme of your story is what the reader perceives as the central thought. As you may have noticed, I use a definition that revolves around a reader and not a writer. A writer can have an intended theme, but a reader does not necessarily perceive that as being the theme of the story. Anyway, the theme of the story is basically the glue that holds the whole story together. It's a central thought and everything is about that. Next up are the motives. Motives are little reoccurring bits in the story that signal the theme. And when I say reoccurring, I don't just mean in the story, but also in literature as a whole. And last but not least, we've got symbols. These are the specific things that happen in your story. I will come up with an example in just a minute. So how do these three things relate to each other? Well, symbols build up motives, and motives build up the theme. Let's put that in a little example. Imagine the theme of your story is loneliness. A motive in this story may be that other characters just don't care about your main character. Then in turn, a symbol that supports this motive is that the main character gets on a bus or a tram or in any other place, tries to talk to other people, but nobody talks back, nobody really cares. Another symbol may be that the character gets off their bus, nobody talks to them, and then they get to work. When they go down to the place they work, it happens to be down in the third basement in the back where nobody ever visits them. And if you're feeling like it, maybe the third symbol is that nobody in the company even knows your main character's name. Now, as you notice, like the symbols form the little bits of information you get from the story, and they support the motive. And the motive in turn supports the theme. It is good to realize that a story can have multiple themes, but every single theme is supported by different motives and different symbols. So how do you find a theme in a story? Well, finding themes is all about reading between the lines and interpretation of the text. You may notice how subjective that is. That's good, because that's the whole point of this video. Interpretations of text can be wildly different from reader to reader because of background, experiences, ethnicity, anything really. No two readers are the same. And also, your reader may have a completely different interpretation of your text than you intended as a writer, and that's okay, let it go. I personally really like the death of the author approach, in which the belief is that the author does not have any more ownership over the story than anybody else. So every interpretation is just as valid. If you want to know more about the death of the author approach, Lindsay Ellis made a really good video essay about it and I will link it down below. However, the ideal situation is where your reader perceives the same themes as you intended as the author. But what if they don't? Well, that just means that the story meant something else to them than you intended as a writer. That's all there's to it. Let's play the blame game. Whose fault is it? Is it your fault? That actually might be the case. But it doesn't have to be. Now, because nobody can stop your reader from interpreting your text, I'm not going to get into what to do with people that just don't get your story. I am just going to talk about what you can do to better support your themes. First thing that can go wrong with your theme is that you accidentally write in the wrong motives. This is where the dreaded privilege comes in. Because if you are in a privileged position, things might be so normal to you that you don't even notice that you're writing it in. This is why it's a great thing to have good betas and sensitivity readers when you work on your book. They may notice things that you haven't noticed because it's normal to you. A while ago, I came across an example of a writer who had accidentally written in motives that they did not intend. This person themselves was very religious and had ended up accidentally writing in motives that supported the theme that it was bad to not be religious. This writer did not mean to do that. They thought they were being very open and very not judgmental about not being religious. But they couldn't stop their worldview from interfering with the story. Now, the second thing that you can do wrong is writing in motives that do not support your theme. A good example of this is writing a story where the theme is it's okay to be gay, but then the motives suggest otherwise because everybody your character meets is not okay with them being gay. And when we take it one level down, symbols can also not support the motive in the same way as the motives cannot support the theme. Now the next question is, of course, does your story need a theme? No, as a writer, you don't need to put a team into your story, or not consciously anyway. But that you don't write in a team doesn't mean nobody is going to find one. That's all, yeah, that's all I can tell you. I think that writers need to accept that people that read their stories are going to find meaning in it that we not necessarily intended to be there. And that is totally okay, because writing is an art, and it's about interpretation and what somebody gets from it from reading it. We should embrace that. That being said, let's move on to the question of the day. How much thought do you put into the themes of your story? And do you believe that the writer is always right, or that there can also be different interpretations of the story that are just as valid? Let me know in the comment section down below. Well, that's all I've got for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and while you're down there, you can subscribe to my channel for more awesome content like this. I post new videos on Thursdays. I need a drink. It's just tea.